Hello, Steve White, Trek Way 89 for Steve at C9, Star Trek's alleged gatekeeper. Okay, so Star Trek The Motion Picture, the Director's Edition, was recently remastered for 4K, and the Director's Edition. And they announced that Fathom Events was going to be running a bunch of screenings over 3 days only, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 25th of May. I was hoping that these would not be limited to the US, but they appear to be limited to just a few cinemas or cinema chains in the US. I think it's Regal LA Live, Cinemark 18 and XD, and AMC Century City. So it just looks like 3 cinemas. I'm not sure if it's that limited or not. But I was hoping that there'd be some screenings in Australia and other countries, but from what I'm seeing, there hasn't been. I was assuming there'd be something to talk about, but there's really nothing. I'm really disappointed. It's the 22nd here in Australia, and there's nothing here, so I won't be seeing it. I probably wouldn't have left my house anyway, thanks to a certain thing rising in numbers and more cases and more deaths. Going into winter, that's going to get worse. So I probably wouldn't have gone anyway, but I just wish they'd actually made some effort. I don't know why they didn't give it a small release in the US. I think it would have actually made some money. I think people would want to see it. Recently, during a certain worldwide incident, some cinemas, because they didn't have new films, they ran a lot of old films that made a lot of money, particularly, I think, Star Wars, second Star Wars film. The real second Star Wars film, episode 5, made a big chunk of money, I think, and the original Ghostbusters. Now, why they didn't run this sort of like that, I don't know. So it's very disappointing. And yeah, I just wanted to comment on that because I was hoping to do a video about them, releasing it around the world on those 3 days. Because when they did the Star Trek Next Generation Season 1 remastered DVD release, they did they did Season 1 and they did Season 2, so they had 2 events that actually were all around the world, including Australia. And they did the same thing with the original Star Trek. When they remastered it, they did a screening of The Menagerie, and they did that in Australia as well. So I was kind of hoping that they would do the same for this, but they didn't. So I'm very disappointed that they've only treated American audiences to it, although I was a bit disappointed by the actual film anyway. Some of the scenes from the Director's Edition, that they basically preserved them, and they are as effective in the new film in HD as they were in the original Director's Edition, but some scenes they changed, they made worse. So and some of the effects, one scene the effects are really bad. It's mostly the retroscoping. Some scenes it looks like cardboard cutouts, other scenes they look like furry, like they've just erased the edges with an eraser. It looks so bad. But for the most part it was good, but I just was really shocked by that really low quality, just dropping the ball in that one scene. And the other scene, the issue was Starfleet. The original movie had one shot of the space tram going to the Starfleet base or tram depot or whatever it was. I've heard it described as a tram depot. I've also heard it called Starfleet headquarters. So I'm not quite sure exactly what it was meant to be. But they had one shot that was finished, and I think they planned 3 shots, and then they just had a placeholder shot of the United Federation of Planets seal, and then I thought when they were going to fix it they would have added another shot or maybe 2 shots to cover that in. Instead they created 3 new shots which were all one sequence, and it looked awful. They shot it, they took they used just a regular digital camera, they took some photos and they just added some digital elements to it, and it looks so bad. And this, they just recreated the same bad effects, but in a proper sort of CG sort of scene. So it looks better, but isn't really any better. And what I was hoping they were going to do was, I'd heard they'd found some of the original elements. I thought they were going to finish those couple of shots. I know one was started where they had a close-up of the beach and the very sort of opening of the Starfleet tram depot or whatever, and the shuttle just approaching it, which would have been, I guess, the last shot of the sequence. I was hoping they were going to restore that and put the original shot back, restore that, and maybe do a third shot to bridge the two that had the same sort of dimension and perspective and artistry of those two shots, which the 3 shots that they made for their sequence really didn't have. And I think they really just wanted to keep it in the film so they could say, look, we put this in the film. This is our little bit of Star Trek motion picture. So it's all about them. And look what we did in Star Trek, even though it looks worse than the original shot. The original 2 shots, the placeholder would have been better than what they put in the original director's edition. And the new version, it looks better digitally. It does look more real and better quality, but it's still the same undynamic sequence that just doesn't match the rest of the matte work and the rest of the effects in the film, which have a real dynamic sort of look and perspective to them. So I didn't expect to be complaining about that when I started this video about the Fathom events, but the fact that I have to see that on the big screen kind of makes it a bit easier, the fact that I'm missing it. But yeah, because it wouldn't look any better on the big screen. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you went to the Fathom events, let me know how they went. Thanks. Bye.